Hello, dear students. Welcome you all to the online series of lectures for microeconomics. In last module, we have discussed about the production and the factors affects the production. And today we are going to discuss the production functions and basic concepts of production. So, as we have learned in previous modules, let me go to the slide. Factors of productions, we have seen that land, labor, entrepreneurship, and capitals are the factors which affects the production of any good or service. So when we say production function, we are developing a technical relationship or a mathematical relationship which expresses the relationship between output and the different combination of input which we are using for production. Now, inputs could be land or labor or combination of the four things we have discussed: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So combination of those inputs, and when we will maintain a mathematical relationship or technological relation, it will be called your production function. Okay, so it indicates the maximum amount of output that can be produced with the help of each possible combination of input. So we can say that the quantity we are producing, it is a function of capital and labor. Okay, in economics, for short run, basically, in your books you will found these combination of these two factors only, capital and labor. We ignore land and entrepreneurship here. So we say that the total production depends upon how much capital you are utilizing and how many labors you are using. Okay, so labor and capital are the inputs, and your total output which you are producing, whether goods or services, it is a function of labor and capital. Function means this output depends on, function means depends on your labor and capital. So Q is the amount, maximum amount you are producing with this much of capital and this much of labor. So there will be an equation between quantity output as and labor and capital. We will see when we will solve some numericals, we will see what kind of equations you will get. So basically you think you understand it is a relationship between the quantity which you are producing and factors of inputs, combination of factors of inputs. Okay, here for simplification we are using only two factors, capital and labor. Next concept is here total production. This total production, average production, and marginal production is the same concept which we learn in utility. There we discuss total utility, average utility, and marginal utility. The same basic concept is the is same for both. So total production, when we are saying, it is your total output. Simply, it is your total output that is generated from the factors of production employed by a business. So total how much output is coming, that is called your total production. So like manufacturing industries where like we are making tangible things like cars or freezes or DVDs or anything which we can touch. So there it is easy or straightforward to measure how much volume we are producing with the utilization of labor and capital. But in service industries or intangible things when we are producing, or knowledge based industries, so output measurement is little hard to find out. Next is your average production. So it is simply like we calculate average, similar way we calculate average production also. So it is the total output, how much we are producing, divided by the number of units of the variable factors of production. It could be labor, it could be your capital. So how much you are producing divided by the number of units which number of units of labor or capital. So a simple average it is production. Next is marginal production. Marginal, I told you, the last additional 1 unit, how much contribution it is doing, this will be called your marginal. So marginal production, when we are saying, so it is the change in total production when an added unit of variable factor of product is employed. Okay, change in total production when we are adding one more unit of production. Suppose with the help of 10 laborers, we was producing 100 TVs, let's say example. So if we are increasing the labor by 11, so how much change in the total production? Means earlier we was producing 100, now when we are utilizing one more labor, let's say our production is going 120. So what will be our marginal production? 120 minus 100, it means 20. So one labor when we are using, so 20 change in production is coming, total production is coming, so it will be your marginal production. So it could be based on the change on labor, or it could be the change in machinery, or it could be change in capital, or it could be change in labor or employment. Next, some concept of production functions. Most of them we have discussed when we was discussing the utility also, like a marginal rate of technical substitute. There we have discussed it, marginal rate of substitute. Okay. So one by one, these five factors we will discuss. Marginal productivity of factors of production, marginal rate of technical substitute, elasticity of substitution, factor intensity, and the return to scale. So these points we will discuss one by two. Out of this marginal rate of technical substitute and the return to scale is important for your examination point of view. So let's start first by marginal production of factor of production. So it is a change in output due to very small change in the quantity of factors, while we are keeping other factors of production constant. Okay, so let's say in first equation which you are seeing, marginal productivity of labor we are calculating, and we are keeping your capital as a constant factor. Okay, we are not changing or doing any kind of change in capital. Only when we are doing changes in labor, so your marginal productivity of labor will be delta Q, where delta Q represents your output, change in output divided by change in labor. So it will be your marginal um, productivity of labor, we will say. Okay. So change in your quantity divided by change in your labor, or we can write Q2 minus Q1 over L2 minus L1. Remember this, during this time when we are making a change in labor, we are considering the capital is constant. In next, marginal productivity of capital, when we are calculating, we are measuring the change in output with respect to small change in capital, and we are keeping labor as a constant factor here. So it will be delta Q over K, Q2 minus Q1 over K2 minus K1. So you can see here, when we are doing any change in small change with labor and capital, some kind of change will come in quantity produce or output produce. So the ratio of change in quantity over change in labor or capital will be called your marginal productivity of factor of production. Next is marginal rate of technical substitute. This thing we have already discussed a lot when we was discussing the utility chapter, consumer behavior chapter, your second module. So the rate at which one factor has to be decreased in order to retain the same level of productivity if another factor is increased. So the production we will not change. Okay, the output will remain same, but we can change the inputs which we are utilizing. Okay, like let's say we are using 10 laborers, and 30 was our capital we was using. Okay, and output was 100. So output will remain 100. To keep that output remain 100, let's say after 2 days, 2 labors went off. Okay, out of 10, now we have only 8 labors. So to replace that 2 labors work, we need to take one more additional unit of machinery. So we need to increase the capital here. So you see that we can't compromise with our output 100 we need to give. But what we are doing, when we are decreasing one factor of production, we need to increase the another factor of production to compensate the loss which we are making when 1 or 2 labors are going. Okay, so when we are doing such kind of changes, we will say it is marginal rate of technical substitute. It shows the trade-off between factors such as capital and labor that a firm must make in order to keep the output constant. So output we can't compromise. 100 was the output, means we need to every time produce 100. So earlier 10 labor and 30 capitals were there. Now 2 labors went off. So what we will do? Now we have only 8 labor. So instead of 30 capital, we will utilize, let's say, 35. So the 2 labors work is equals to 5 capitals. So output will be same with this, but the labor will decrease and your capital will increase, or vice versa is also possible. So it will be called your marginal rate of technical substitute, MPL over MPK, marginal uh, productivity of labor divided by marginal productivity of capital. This is the formula, minus delta K over delta L. Why this minus sign is coming? Because some negative change is happening in one factor. Here in this case, capital is changed by minus. So it will be called your marginal rate of technical substitute. Next is your elasticity of substitution. So it is the ratio of two inputs of production functions with respect to the ratio of marginal products. So ratio of two production function, how much percentage change is coming? K here capital, L labor, divided by marginal rate of technical substitute. Marginal rate of technical substitutes just now we have learned. And this is simply the change in the ratio of two factors of production. Next is factor intensity. So suppose when we are using only two factors, labor and capital, then factor intensity will be simply their ratio will be your factor intensity. Next one is the return to scale. So what is long term and short term, I will explain later on when we will discuss the production function in long run and short run. But here simply just you go through this in more detail. We will discuss it in further lectures. So it is a long run phenomena. Long run phenomena means when we have freedom to increase our capital, as well as we have freedom to increase our labor, when we can expand our business in long run. Okay, where we can develop more buildings, we can develop more, we can utilize more machineries. Okay, we can install new production units. So long term time, when we have freedom to do alteration in our production units. So if a firm increase the quantity of all factors employed, other things being equal, the output may raise initially at more rapid than the rate of increase in the input. Then output may increase in the same proportion of inputs, and ultimately output increases lesser. It means in long run period, when we are increasing the quantity of all factors employed, means we are increasing the labors, when we are increasing the capital, both the factors we are employing. So what will happen? Initially our production will be higher than the rate of increase in labor or capital. Okay, then at a point our production or output will be constant, and finally our output will decrease. Why it happens? All these things we will discuss further. So return to scale is the percentage increase in output when input vary in the same proportion, means labor and capital both are varying with the same proportion, and with respect to that, how much increase in the production is happening, that will be called your return to scale. So three phases are there, we have already discussed: increasing return to scale, constant return to scale, and diminishing return to scale. So assumptions are like all the units which we are making, these are homogeneous. Homogeneous means same. So unit of productions are same, and technique of production is unchanged, means the similar techniques you are using, you are not developing new machineries and all. Okay, means technology you are not changing, not new machineries. New technology you are not installing. And returns are measured in the physical terms, means physically you are checking the returns. So this is the last slide for today. Just see what all things we have learned today. We discussed about what is total, the production function first of all, then we see total production, average production, and marginal production. Then we have seen concept of production functions, and these four concepts we have discussed. So I hope the topics which we have done today is clear. If you have any queries, you can catch me on your WhatsApp group. I will solve your queries there. Thank you so much for watching the videos.